All right, recording started. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the student visa process webinar here. And this is from a very specific perspective. This is for students that are applying from within the US. You don't necessarily have to be a US passport holder, but you are applying from within the United States and you're looking at a spring start. My name is Victoria Yepes Taylor, Assistant Manager of Operations for Admissions, and I'll be your host for this evening here. And so there's a little just artistic rendering of the visa vignette we are trying to get, and more importantly, we are trying to get you approved. They don't actually put that stamp in there. I just thought it was cute. All right, let's get things started. So you may have seen on our website that we have a infographic that goes kind of goes through the journey of preparing to study in London. So I cut out this little top snippet because I think it's great. And so I kind of wanted to start with that. So first steps are to confirm your enrollment. What does this mean? This means completing your offer acceptance form that you plan to join us. If you deferred from a previous semester, you do need to complete a new one. So either way, offer acceptance form. And then second, for undergraduate students who are paying in US dollars, you have a $500 tuition deposit to hold your spot. I do note there that our PGs do not have, our graduate students do not have that same deposit. So that is just for undergrads. Other things to start thinking about at this stage, we have the FAFSA. If you plan to use any student, parent loans, anything like that through FAFSA, this would be the time to make sure that your application is in. And I've included our code there, G10594, because sometimes we're a little hard to find if you just do the general kind of search for the name, but if you do the code, it'll pull us right up. So once you complete your FAFSA application, it can take about 7 to 10 days to process. And then our Dean of Financial Aid produces a loan award letter, lets you know the maximum loans that are available. If you agree to the loans, you sign the form, you return it, and then he produces a loan confirmation letter that kind of seals that part of the process. So I know just recently our Dean of Financial Aid has released the first batch of loan award letters. So if you have that, then please review it. Follow the instructions, go from there. If you have not received your loan award letter and you think you have, if it's been 7 to 10 days since you've completed your application, do let us know and we'll check in with Jason Elliott, our Dean of Financial Aid, to see if he sees any reason there's a delay or if we can get you that loan award letter. The fourth thing we should be thinking about here is exploring housing. So if you check out the Richmond page, the accommodation page, you'll see that we've partnered with IQ Haywood House. Perks of this partnership are you have Richmond resident life staff, so a little extra support, hall aides, things like that to help you out. Actually, Bobby and I recently traveled to the Chiswick campus and also kind of went through the commute to IQ Haywood House, and it's a lovely little about 20-25 minutes on the overground train, not bad at all. So certainly happy to talk to you about Haywood or any other provider. You can certainly, you don't have to go with Haywood. You can certainly go with another provider, or if you'd like to do the traditional apartment search, just like you would here in the States, that's certainly an option as well. So these are kind of just setting the foundation, making sure that you're ready to go. All right, so next steps. So we talked about accepting your offer. So for students that applied through the direct application on our website or the Common App, it's just the simple offer acceptance form. If you applied through the UCAS application, then you do have to log into that and kind of accept your offer on there and do things through UCAS. US based students, not too many apply through UCAS, but I just mention it just in case. All right, so you're like, Victoria, enough. I've accepted my offer. What are my next steps? So Can't say it enough. Familiarizing yourself with accommodation options, submitting your tuition deposit for undergrad US dollar payers, FAFSA, sending official copies of transcripts as soon as they are available, and requesting a transfer credit evaluation if needed. So if you are bringing with you any passing AP exam scores, IB exam scores, any college credits, anything like that, we definitely need to get you a transfer credit evaluation so that you know, first of all, what credits will transfer, but also it will be important for your visa application, because if you've taken more than a semester's worth of classes, it would, for undergrads, impact the length of your visa, length of study, length of stay. All right, this is a popular question I get. Where is my CAS letter? To which I respond, just like this character. One does not simply receive your CAS letter. There is a criteria that you need to meet to receive that letter. So let's see here. When can I apply for my visa? So CAS preparations. First of all, CAS, we're going to be saying that a lot. CAS or CAS, as our UK colleagues will say, confirmation of acceptance for studies. So this letter is needed for the visa application. Sometimes students try to log into and get their visa application started, and then they find they can't get very far because they do not have their CAS letter. So before you can get into the visa application, the first step is qualifying for this letter. So what do we need for this letter? Well, here we go. CAS requirements. Number one, you need an unconditional offer. This will be on your offer letter. If there are any conditions listed, you have a conditional offer. Nothing to worry about. You just have to review the conditions, and typically for most students, it may be transcript. Or perhaps it's a part of your application, or maybe you need a new passport copy or something like that, but it is listed on your offer letter. Once you have an unconditional offer, that leads me to valid passport. So essentially, we want to see a passport that is not expiring, ideally not expiring for quite a while, but most importantly, not expiring within the next 6 months. If you have a passport that is kind of on the borderline, feel free to reach out and say, hey, this is expiring at this point. What say you? Usually at this point, we would probably encourage moving forward and then just having you, once you're through the visa process, once you arrive in the UK, go to the embassy and get a new passport if you need to. Unless it's going to expire, under that 6-month window, then we should, have a conversation and investigate and see how we're doing there. I know there are expedited visa applications too, which right now are taking about 3 to 5 weeks. So something to keep in mind. But we can talk about that more. So after that is the CAS request form. So this is on the offer holders page. If you need a link to this, let us know. We can always send you a link to the CAS request form. I like to highlight the CAS request form does not automatically action your CAS letter. A lot of times students will say, I completed the letter or the form, where's my letter? But you have to meet all of this criteria, okay? So not just the CAS request form. What happens with the CAS request form is our UK admissions office, they refer to the form when they are creating your letter. It's like another double check because it has you input like your passport number, all your details, making sure you understand a couple of the things that we're going to be covering right here. So after that, number 4, approximately 40% of tuition needs to be paid to receive your CAS letter. I say approximately because you'll see on previous updates on our site, it has been a 40% of tuition, but starting last semester, our finance department has streamlined this process, and we just have 2 straightforward rates for what students need to qualify for their CAS. So for our undergraduate students, it is $6,000, and for our graduate or postgraduate students, it is £5,000. So this can be paid in either direct payment, card, wire transfer, either of those are fine. Or if you are planning to use loans to cover this, then this would involve getting that loan letter, signing, returning it, doing all the things on the FAFSA site, the MPN, the loan counseling, MPN, master promissory note, and then getting the loans confirmed by Jason Elliott, Ardena Financial Aid. So however you get to the 40%, typically when students do loans, maybe they'll do, 100% or something. But however we meet that 40% criteria, that checks that box for these CAS requirements. The final item is the maintenance funds. So maintenance funds means the UK government wants to ensure that a student has enough funds to support themselves while they're in the UK. And we can all kind of debate how much a person needs to support themselves. I certainly remember, at Richmond having friends on each end of the spectrum as far as monthly budgets and things like that. But they've calculated that it's about $16,500 that a student needs to support themselves while they're in the UK. So this amount could be included in any loan you plan to take out. This could be in like a savings checking account of a student, of a parent, anything like that. Richmond is not going to ask for this evidence. In the past, we used to have to collect this as well, but Richmond will not be asking for this evidence. And also as a US, if you're a US passport holder, and there's a number of other countries as well, but I'll keep this US focus. As a US passport holder, it is incredibly rare for this evidence to be requested of you. But of course, whenever dealing with governments and visa organizations, we have to be ready for the incredibly rare. So if you have any questions about maintenance funds, anything like that, feel free to reach out. If it is meant to be in a savings or checking account, it does need to be in that account for approximately 28 days prior to application of the visa. So we mention it now if you need to kind of let those funds nestle for a little while, or if they're going to be covered in loans, then that is accepted as well. Again, I will not be checking this evidence, and it is also incredibly rare that the UK VI, UK Visa and Immigration, will be requesting this info, but want to tell you about it now. Okay, next question. I have my CAS letter now. Am I done? Are you done? But wait, there's more. You've just begun, my friend. While getting your CAS letter and qualifying for your CAS letter can feel like a project in itself, which it certainly is, you are not done. Please do not receive your CAS letter and think, I've got my visa, I'm all set. No. You do have more to do, but you're great progress, but you are not done just yet. So what happens then? Next steps. So you've received your CAS letter from the UK admissions office. Now you can start with your online visa application. This begins on the Home Office website. You should clearly apply before you travel to the UK, and another rule is no more than 6 months before, but we're already within that window, so that's not an issue in this case. I took a little screenshot of the website just so you can kind of familiarize yourself with what that looks like, and as well, that is the link to the website. So gov.uk, student visa apply. So that's where the form starts, and very early on in the form, they will ask, please input your CAS number. And so that's where that will come into play. And the CAS number is on the CAS letter. And also when you're filling out your visa application, you want to make sure that your visa everything you're filling in matches your CAS letter. These two things need to match. So if you see an issue, if you see an error on your CAS letter, do let us know. A lot of times it's not an error, it's just noted in a different way than what we would, whether it's kind of British wording or whatever it is, it might be noted in a different way than we're used to. So there may be a reason it's on your CAS letter like that, but always feel free to double check because we need those two things to match, what you're submitting and the details on your CAS letter. Okay, so another part of the visa application are the fees. So there is an application fee and there is an immigration health surcharge or IHS fee. The application fee is £348. I know we're all kind of, some of us may be getting used to conversions, so I looked it up earlier today. £348, right under 400 US dollars. And then as well, the International Health Service surcharge, £470 per year of expected study. So as of today, £470 equivalent to about $540. Not a bad conversion today. And then I do note at the bottom here, IHS fees are based on the length of your visa. So that's why, like, if you have any transfer credits, we have to figure out your anticipated graduation, because that's going to be used in this calculation. So, for example, if you have 3 years of study or 4 years, or you're a graduate student and you have about 16 months, all of that is calculated. And then they also include a little extra time on either end. So there's a little time before the start of the visa, and then they do add a little wrap-up period at the end. So the math isn't going to be exactly 3 years, 4 years, 1 year, but the idea of this is just to kind of give you an idea of amounts and just kind of have that in mind. I don't want anyone to be surprised about any of this. So here I've done a little bit of math because I can always use support with that myself. So I got 2 examples for you. If you are a incoming freshman, no transfer credits, just 4 years, keeping the math simple, you've got your application fee, £348. You've got your health surcharge fee, £2,115. Where did I get that? I got that from this website, this immigration health surcharge. They have a little checker, a little calculator. You can answer questions and they would let you know exactly what your IHS fee. So for a 4-year incoming freshman, that would be the fee. I added that with the application fee, brought me to £2,463, equivalent to, as of today, 2,828 US dollars. So this payment is due very early on in the application. So I mention this because you couldn't kind of consider this amount in any kind of student loan that you're taking or anything like that. Because while maybe you are taking out more tuition, more loan than tuition and anticipating a refund, that will not be dispersed till the start of classes. And this process, visa application process, starts now. And these fees are due, within the next month or so whenever you're applying. So second example here, I have an incoming graduate student spring start, which is a little different than a fall start. It's a little bit longer because you have to do your internship at the very end. So application fee the same, $348. I used the checker for the math and got $940 for the immigration health surcharge fee. Put that together. I don't think I changed that number. Oops, sorry. But I got £1,288, equivalent to about 1,478 US dollars. So again, your numbers may be slightly different depending on length of study, transfer credits, things like that. But I just kind of wanted to give you an idea of how this math comes about. Okay, so you've completed your application online, you've paid your fees. What now? So now we kind of come to a fork in the road. There's 2 routes you can go, but they both involve biometrics. Biometrics is a fancy way of saying fingerprint scan, and they're going to take your photo. So 2 ways to do this. I'm going to focus a little bit more on the traditional route, just because I don't think we are currently in the time crunch needed for the premium route, but I know some students, some parents like to speed things up anyway, and that is totally up to you, and I'll kind of go over that route as well. And it's good to know about both routes, because when you are within your visa application, there will become a point where you pick which route you want to go for your biometrics. So I want you to know about both so you kind of know what you're picking. So the traditional route involves going to a local immigration office, a U.S. immigration office. They're called USCIS. You can Google USCIS and the name of your town, the name of your city, and they'll let you know where the closest one is. Usually they're booking within about 1 to 2 weeks from when you're, in the application, visa application. These locations are U.S. immigration offices. They just handle biometrics for UKVI. It's the same system, so they can do that, but they are not UK visa specialists. So I just mentioned that because a lot of times students will bring questions to them at their offices, the USCIS offices, and they are not visa experts. They work with all kinds of people doing biometrics, but I want everyone to be as informed as they can be when they go to these appointments, because they're not specialists with UK specifically. They just do biometrics, and then they're going to send you on your way. They give you a little receipt saying that you went to your appointment, and then they send you off. And they should also give you a piece of paper with instructions of where to mail your visa application. I mentioned that because I noticed I've gotten feedback from some students that they haven't given them the mailing address or anything like that. So that's why I want to tell you, just so you can say, hey, aren't you supposed to give me a little form or something like that. This just varies state by state because each state has their own USCIS offices, and they all kind of manage a little bit differently. The other route is to go to a premium center. Of course, with the word premium comes additional costs. There are about 10 premium centers in the United States. They do, fortunately, unfortunately, favor the coasts. So if you're on East Coast, West Coast, I believe there's one in Texas, I want to say Houston, and then Chicago. But aside from that, they're pretty much on the coast. Perks of going to a premium office are you're not mailing in your application and you're not going to a local immigration office. You are going straight to a VFS Global, V like Victoria, F like Frank, S like Sam, VFS Global office. They're the contractors. They do UK visa applications for the UKVI. So you're going to one of these offices, premium centers, you're doing your biometrics there, you're submitting everything there, and then they're going to mail everything back to you. So that's the fork in the road. If you have any questions about which way you should go, I would say, right at this point right now, you certainly have time. The traditional route typically takes about 3 to 5 weeks. The main variable there is when you'll get your appointment. That kind of adjusts the 3 to 5 weeks a little bit at a local immigration office. And the same thing goes premium centers. Just so you know, the most common package with them is they have a silver package. It is an additional 800, I believe it's 850, a little bit right around there, $850 additional. So on top of the cost that we went over just a little bit ago. The promises of the silver package are about a 5-day turnaround, business day turnaround. You get to go to a premium center, and they list a couple of other perks and stuff, but the main ones are just being able to go to a premium center and the faster turnaround. They also offer a gold package. This package I would leave for diplomatic crises, political issues. Usually they're about a 24 to 48 hour turnaround, but that additional package costs about an additional $1,200. So I'm not suggesting you need that. I'm just letting you know what the options are. And then there's also a bronze package at the premium centers. This does not offer a faster turnaround. This is still about 3 weeks. It's about an additional $400, but it lets you go to a premium center. And then starting last year, they introduced a student package, which is interesting. It's right under $100, and it allows you to go to a premium center, but again, isn't a faster turnaround. So if you're right now, I'm not necessarily suggesting that you need a faster premium service, but if you are perhaps viewing this recording a little bit later in the year and considering those options, we can certainly talk about all of those. Richmond has just begun issuing CAS letters this week. So, or I've the first that I've seen of the group that I'm working with, I should say, have come through this week. So do not feel like you are behind or anything like that. We certainly have time. The main thing that I don't know just yet, because I haven't had students that I'm working with schedule appointments just yet, is I don't know when their appointments are going to be. Typically they are 1 to 2 weeks out, and that kind of varies state to state. So usually once students start applying and getting their appointments, they'll let me know, hey, my appointment's like a week out or so, and I kind of just get an idea, and then I have a better idea of how things are looking. Fortunately, spring intake is usually not as large a population as the fall, so that typically helps with turnaround too. So yeah, a lot of info there, but let's push through. We're almost there. So you've done your biometrics, and if you have gone the traditional route, a local USCIS office, then you're going to mail your application. And I actually double checked the UK website today, and it was a different address than it was in previous webinars that we've held. So I've updated the new address here. If you go to a local USCIS office, they should also give you a sheet that has the address to mail it to. If it does differ to anything that I have, please follow whatever instructions you are given, and definitely let me know, because I'm always curious of what updates they're receiving. The things that you need to mail off. So when you go to your biometrics appointment, you have 5 days to mail everything off. So similarly to when you have your CAS letter, when you do your biometrics, you are not done yet. Almost, but you're not done yet. You have 5 days to mail everything off. What are you mailing off? You're mailing off your application form. You are mailing off your passport. What? Yes, your passport. Why? Because they have to put a physical sticker within your passport. If you are an EU passport holder, then it is a digital process and they do not need to do the physical sticker, and we can talk about that if you need to. US passport holders, you do have to submit your passport. You need to include a return shipping label. Some of the packages include a shipping label, so if you got one of the packages that includes that, that's fine, but if you didn't, you need that. And then they also say, and any supporting documents if you haven't uploaded them online. For US passport holders, we're considered low risk nationals, so we do not need to submit like examples of supporting documents that they're saying are like the financial maintenance, the financial evidence that we were talking about, or transcripts, anything like that. So when you complete your visa application online, they're going to have a document checklist of things that you need to submit. And for most students, the checklist is just going to say passport. So I know even though it says checklist, it's for most students, it's just getting your passport there. Now I kind of have it highlighted here and starred about you must submit your passport, because there is the option to send an upload of, just like a scan of your passport, and that's fine and all well and good, but that does not count as submitting your passport because they have to put the physical sticker. Sometimes students mail off. The other thing you'll be sending off is the receipt from your biometrics appointment. So sometimes students are, send everything off and then they say, I didn't include my passport. And we have been able to reunite applications and passports before, but if we can avoid it at all costs, I would definitely like to, because it makes me very nervous. So also, all applications must include current passport, at least the blank page. And then they say on their website, if you've submitted an application without a passport, it will be refused. I haven't seen a refusal yet. Usually they do reach out and say, hey, or no, actually for passport, they won't. If there's an issue with your application, sometimes they'll send an email. So we encourage you to keep an eye on your spam, your junk folders, all of that throughout this process, because sometimes Richmond emails get stuck there too. They will, if there's some kind of issue with your application, they will send you an email, and you do need to act quickly to submit whatever they need or respond. But if you don't send in your passport, a lot of times they won't communicate that, and they'll just kind of let your application sit. So long story short, be sure to submit your passport, please, please, please. And then, okay, and then I just have the link down there of where I pulled this info from. Okay. And now we wait. So yeah, once you've mailed everything off, you can certainly check the tracking and make sure it's arrived. You will receive an email when your application is beginning to be processed. A lot of times they'll say wording like, your application has been sent to the UKVI. It hasn't, your passport hasn't literally been sent over abroad or anywhere, but just digitally sent. And then you'll receive a second email that says, you know, your application is complete and, you know, you should be receiving everything back to you soon. Visa denials are incredibly rare. It is more likely that there's just a delay, there's an issue, there's something, then it is a denial. I know students get really worried about, and rightfully so, about there being, you know, their visa being denied. But if you follow these steps, then usually it's just a timing thing and not a denial situation. All right, so your visa's been issued, all is well. This image on the right is what we're going for, a little sticker that has your photo and your info on it. For students, it'll say you can work up to 20 hours a week when class is in session and all of that good stuff. So this sticker, I call it a sticker, they call it a vignette, visa vignette. This is what you're going to use to gain entry into the UK. When you arrive at the shiny UK customs gates, you are going to not want to go through the automatic computerized robot-y check-in. You're going to want to see a customs agent, and they're going to stamp your sticker. So I just mentioned that because just recently when we went over, it's very easy to just go through the gates and not get your visa stamped. They do try to filter you through and send students, you know, to the right person, but just know that you do want that stamp. Why? Because once that gets stamped, that cues your biometric resident permit card, BRP card, to be sent to your local post office for pickup. So when you're completing your application, they will ask you if your school has a visa collection center, BRP collection center, or if you're going to go to a local post office. And you're going to go to a local post office. So you can either, you can put the Chiswick zip code, area code if you'd like to, or you can put wherever you're living, whatever the zip code area code is there, and they'll send it to the closest post office to you. You have about 10 days to go to that post office and pick up that card. Because your sticker will eventually expire. It's 90 days. So I know a lot of times students receive their visa vignette and they say, what, I paid, I signed up for a year, 2 years, 3 years. Why does this say it's going to expire? That's because it is going to expire. It's just for your entry into the UK, and then you'll have that card, and that'll be your visa. And then I have a note here, yeah, for any EU nationals, any EU passport holders, there is an app. So you receive some digital details that you have to forward on to our UK admissions office. No sticker for you, but a fun app. So, all right. Oh my goodness, everyone's favorite part, arrive in London. I don't know who this crazy woman is. All right, so we've got some dates here. We've got our orientation for undergraduates Tuesday. It starts on a Tuesday, January 10th through Friday, January 13th, with the first day of classes being that next Monday, the 16th. For graduate students, we have orientation. It is one day. It's January 27th, and then classes begin January 30th. There are some ever since COVID, a lot of orientation. I think they've our student affairs team has realized that more and more of orientation can take place virtually online beforehand. So you start receiving communications about setting up your email, things like that. So the in-person orientation kind of past days like that I'm used to, a lot of it they're able to do online and just beforehand. So yeah, so for graduates, it's pretty brief because you're not, most graduate students have about one elective that they need to select, but aside from that, the schedule is pretty set, as opposed to undergrads who have, a full schedules to get sorted out. All right, so, whew. All right, so I see a question in the Q&A here. Let's see here. All right. So Isabel asks, is there any workaround to mailing your passport if you have a US passport? Okay, you'll be traveling up until you travel to the UK. Can I get on a tourist visa and then do the student visa process when I'm there? Okay. So, workaround, no. There are, you may be interested in one of the priority options, perhaps like the silver package of having a week turnaround, depending on what your travel plans are. It does have to be submitted, whether it's submitted through mail, which could take a little bit longer, or a premium center, which would take a little bit shorter, depending on what package you pick. You cannot start as a tourist. So US passport holders, and this is a good question for everybody. US passport holders can enter the UK and be tourists for up to 6 months. But for Richmond to accept you as a student, you do have to have your student visa. So yeah, and you have to apply from where your passport is from. So so yeah, so you couldn't do it in the UK kind of thing. So yeah, so if you we'll post our email addresses shortly, and if you want to reach out to us directly, just kind of to sort of strategize and figure out when would make the most sense for you. And one other thing I hadn't mentioned yet is there are visa consultancy companies that can support you through the process. I kind of have mixed feelings. I think this extra support could be great, but I also want to empower you and say that you can also do it on your own. But if you do have any kind of like unique issue, concerns, things like that, sometimes they can be really helpful. So I do have 2 passport visa consultancies that that students have used before that I can send you. I don't get any points or credit or anything for referring you, but I find them pre-COVID, I didn't really think the extra support was necessary, but kind of post-COVID, I definitely have seen the perks just because visa applications are what they do. And so they kind of, whenever I have something weird happen with a student's application or something, sometimes I'll reach out to them and say, hey, have you noticed a delay on feedback or times or something like that? Because, for example, leading up to the fall start, we did experience some delays with visa turnarounds due to the crisis in Ukraine, which you wouldn't initially think that would impact us all the way over here, but it was we are all connected kind of thing, and it did delay some of the turnaround that we experienced here. So I've seen those turnarounds pick up a little bit, so I don't know if they've kind of resolved, whatever backlog they had with Ukraine-based visa applications. But anyway, but who knows? There could always be different things going on. There are a lot of incredible things involved with international travel, and also some strange and sort of stressful things. So yeah, I think that sufficiently answers that, but of course I'll get our email addresses up shortly, and you can kind of reach out if you need to. Next question. Postgraduate starting spring 2023, would we still be able to participate in graduation spring, summer 2024? Okay, let me think. So you have spring session of classes, and this is for a graduate student, spring session, fall session, and then you are doing your summer internship with the thesis as well. If everything is complete, submitted, done, you should be able to. But we can definitely get that confirmation from student affairs if you would like. Because I do know they have always put an emphasis on, is everything submitted, done, graded, all of that. So could definitely get some more details from them on as far as that. But I do believe it is possible. Okay, excellent. For the scholarship, I'm currently still in my fall semester for university. Should I wait to submit my grades, or should I wait to attend Richmond next fall 2023? Should I wait to submit my grades? So, well, typically scholarships are awarded around the time of application. So whatever grades, whatever you have right at that time of application would be what your scholarship would be calculated from. Or should you wait to attend next fall? I think, if you want to, feel free to send us a separate email kind of weighing the pros and cons of a spring start and a fall start, we can. There's definitely a couple different variables as far as what kind of classes, if you want to take more classes here in the States before you head over, or financially or anything like that, or FAFSA wise as well. There can be a difference between a fall and a spring start. So yeah, if you'd like to we can set up a call or just over email, kind of go over that a little bit more. Certainly can. Okay, next question. If I'm in the USA, gotcha, but I'm applying with my Italian passport, where do I have to go for my biometric? Do I have time for spring? Thanks. Yeah, so if you have an EU passport, we certainly encourage you to use that because then you are able to use the app, which is a little bit faster just because you're not doing the mailing and then that part of it. I believe it is all submitted through the app. I'm not exactly quite sure how, just because I haven't had too many students that I've worked with have to do it, but I can certainly connect you with my colleagues in the UK admissions office to ask a little bit more about how you submit it, but I believe it is all within the app. So I don't think you have to go anywhere to do it. So I imagine it's like submitting a photo and I'm not sure how they do the finger, if it's, yeah. So yeah, we can definitely connect with the UK admissions team to see. But yeah, I know it's very, very in the app. So yeah, you're welcome. Super. Okay, so that was on the Q&A, and then I think I see something in the chat. Okay, so I think that was just from Bobby. Okay, cool. So everybody used the Q&A. Cool. All right. Are there any additional questions that come out of any of that? Let me get our contact info up for you. So first of all, of course, thank you for attending. I know it is a bit of a process. I like to kind of go into all the details with this so that you can refer back to this. And then if you have questions on top of this, like I know we've already done all of this, so I can kind of push past that and we can get into whatever your specific, because I mean, it is a very personal thing. Everyone has different passports, different locations, different travel. So there are portions that are very unique to you, but I think it's great that we kind of get all this general info out. And a lot of times if we receive emails from students and I'll say, just judging on the question, I'll say, have you seen the visa webinar? So don't be upset if I ask you if you've seen the visa webinar. Maybe you have, but your question makes me think that maybe you skipped a point or just have to check back on something because perhaps we covered it. So yeah, here's our email addresses here: US admissions, also US_admissions. Both of those go to us. If you do need to connect with our colleagues, or they may be reaching out to you as well, admissions@richmond.ac.uk. If your email, I know some emails kind of throw our Richmond emails into spam or junk and all of that. So if you can, I know sometimes you can put like certain email addresses on like a cleared list, okay list, or go list, whatever. So I would definitely make sure that all of these email addresses are accepted. For me, yepis@richmond will work, as well as Taylor v@richmond. You have you have all that. And then I also have my colleague who you may hear from every once in a while, Charles Bobby Haas, who is based in New York. So anyone in the Northeast as well. We have our director, Brian Witham, who is based, who's currently traveling for the university, but based in Boston. Looks like I have one more question. Oh, and then I think there was one. Oh, I think there was one that Bobby answered too, but it was good. Good for everyone. Yeah, this is not an every year thing. This is once. That'd be once is enough, right? It's quite a project, but you just have to do it once, and then it's good for the entirety of your study. So that's why we have to make sure that we're calculating the length of stay right. That's why you are paying for as many years of NHS health coverage as you need now, because there is no renewal, there is no comeback. Even if you know, if you decide to study elsewhere, anything like that, you do have to do this now, and then you can always kind of like appeal to get some of the IHS coverage back if you need to. But everything is kind of upfront now, which is different from, for example, I don't know if you've compared, I believe somebody was telling me that to go to France, it's a yearly renewal process. So different. Let's see, what about the visa that we can have after we finish the program, the one for work in UK for the next 2 years? Yes, awesome. So yeah, students that graduate from a UK university, whether it is undergrad or graduate, they can apply for a visa towards the end of their program to stay in the UK for up to 2 years. A lot of our students are really excited about this. Other students, you know, are happy after their studies to return home, so don't feel like you need to do this. But yeah, so what happens is I do know that if it's something you're interested in towards the end of your program, you do want to connect with student affairs to ask them you know, when is the time to start this process, because there is like a window in between when you've completed your program and all of your, you know, all of your exams and final everything has been reviewed and you have your degree, and then you apply for this, for the post study graduate route visa. I think they changed the name from what I remember as a student. But it is pretty exciting because it's not super structured as far as work goes. Yeah, so you can work with that. The idea being, in the past, in order to work in the UK, you had to be sponsored by an employer after, if you didn't have your student visa. But that's really hard to do if you've just graduated from university, unless you've done an internship and really razzled and dazzled your employer, which maybe, but this does give you 2 years to either do that or stay and work in the UK a little bit longer. So yeah, so they leave it pretty open-ended on what you do with that time, but it is a neat thing to think about. So yeah, if you are an undergrad, you have a little bit of time, you know, some time to consider that. If you are a graduate student, then, you know, you have a quicker turnaround to when your program is over. So it is good towards the tail end of your program, or I mean, even, you know, once you're over there, to talk to them about the process and when is the best time, because I do know you have to kind of have everything gathered and make that transition. Unfortunately, I'm not any more familiar with the process because I work mostly with students on this side of things and not on the near graduation side of things. So yeah, but we can always connect you with student affairs to talk about that. Good question. Good question. Let's see. Is IHS health coverage at school UK? No need to keep them in your health insurance in the US. Most students would keep both if they're traveling, you know, if they expect to be traveling back and forth for summers, winter breaks, things like that. If they weren't planning to do that, or I mean, even, you know, for doctors as well, like I personally you know, just kind of scheduled things over winter breaks, summer breaks, things like that. And that kind of was all right with me. But I know everyone's different as far as all health things go. So yeah, so I think most students on the whole would keep any home insurance they have, but certainly up to you. NHS health coverage, even though it's kind of I know some people don't love that it's kind of a requirement of the visa process, but it is really nice to have. you know, a lot of people certainly rave about NHS health coverage. I didn't take advantage of it as much as a student as I wish I would have. But did have some friends use like emergency services and things like that, and they said it was a pretty I don't want to say great experience when you're using emergency services, but you know, just the coverage was pretty good compared to their experiences back home in the States. So certainly up to you, and if you need that coverage back here in the States, or if your student finds providers that they like in the UK and are happy to stick with them for the next few years, that could work great too. One thing to highlight, just since we're kind of on the topic, if you have any prescriptions, any medications, things like that, this is the time to talk to your physician, your doctor, and ensure, and even student affairs, we can connect you with them as well, to ensure that those same medications, prescriptions are allowed in the UK. Just for an example, I know there's a popular ADHD medication that is illegal in the UK and legal in the US. So just things like that to just know of, I don't know, do I need to find an alternative, or you know, what the solution is. Or for other prescriptions, maybe, you know, some students, you're able to get a dose that covers a semester, or, you know, just kind of thinking about that and figuring out what makes the most sense for you with you and your physician and everybody. And then, oh, okay, yeah. So I answered, I think that was when we were talking about the post-study, the graduate visa. So yeah, you can definitely work on that. Awesome. All good questions. Yeah, thank you. I think I missed a thing or two, so you all definitely helped to fill in the slack there. And then oh yeah, so students working, yeah, they can, with the student visa, you can work up to 20 hours a week, aka part-time, when class is in session. And then over holidays, yeah, over holidays, breaks, things like that, you can work full-time up to 40 hours a week. Sometimes it's tricky to get a full-time job for a short period like that, but you know, depending on who your employer is, maybe they're willing to be flexible or work with you. If you are looking for any kind of suggestions on, you know, work in the UK, my first thought is always just to ask, you know, if you what experience you have here in the States already. Friends that I had, you know, maybe did childcare, or I mean, there certainly are on-campus opportunities. Usually they're a little bit on the lower end of the hour spectrum, so like 5 to 10 hours a week if it's any on-campus kind of opportunity. If you're looking to kind of maximize that 20 hours, then off-campus may be the best bet, whether it's childcare, you know, food service, customer, you know, any kind of customer service, things like that. Or you can always reach out to student affairs and ask, especially in our new neighborhood, Chiswick Park, there are a ton of opportunities. It's a great neighborhood. Okay, just flipping through the questions really quick to make sure. I think we've covered it all though. And then, yeah, feel free to note, you should have most of these email addresses, I imagine. But yeah, feel free to reach out. I know the US team, we are traveling a little bit for about just the next week or two, and then we should be all settled in offices and things like that. But if we miss you on the phone line, feel free to leave us a message, or on email. We can schedule calls. That's always great. And I think I don't see any more other questions or chat, and I can't believe it. Wow, that an hour goes by quickly when you're having fun talking about your visa application. So let all of this absorb. I know kind of questions usually come up, you know, each step of the way there's questions. So always feel free to ask. I know it is a little stressful, but just kind of, now that you know the full picture, narrow in on, okay, what stage am I at right now? And what do I need to do? Are you waiting for Richmond to do something? Are you waiting for, are we waiting for some document for you? Like, kind of try to figure out, you know, where you are there. And then you just always want to be progressing. You don't want to, you know, stall out anywhere, because I'm also charting and monitoring where everyone is at, but I'm also doing that for everybody. So if you can kind of, you know, check in and see where you're at and make sure that you're making progress, that is the best. Yeah, super. Okay. Well, thank you so much. Let me first of all, I'll stop. Let's see. Let me stop the recording here if I can. I think I can. Let's see. So yeah, thank you for watching our webinar recording.